Here. So sorry for the delay. We're technical difficulties. We are all here with a quorum, so I'm not going to ask Shan to call the roll. Call the meeting order at 4:41. And first item of business, and the only one, is this action item 2A, presentation of proposed update to master fees. This meeting was intended for council to ask questions to you, Nitish. I think as you weren't able to be present. What's that? Okay, sorry. I'll try to enunciate very loudly. I will shout at you. So if you could, I think you have a brief presentation. If you could do that, and then we could roll right to questions, that would be great. So Nitish, I will turn it over to you.
Sounds good. Good afternoon, Mr. Mayor, members of the council. Can you hear me properly?
Yes, they can't hear anything.
Hello.
Maybe can you turn, let's turn that one on. Yeah, hold on one sec for a second. We can turn that one on. Yeah.
Testing.
Hold on one second.
Oh, okay.
Have one of our IT people take care of it.
Now,
Yes. Hello.
Okay, can you do a brief mic check?
Testing.
Yeah, well, I think we'll have to control it a little bit.
Testing.
Okay, Nitish, why don't you go ahead?
All right. Good afternoon, Mr. Mayor, members of the council. This item was presented to you on June 6th, and today our opportunity is to answer any questions that you may have on the proposed fee schedule. This is a presentation to receive feedback, direction. It's important to note that these fees were put together with the city staff, basically working with city staff, interviewing city staff to obtain the necessary information needed to develop the fees. We, as team members, we looked at each of the service delivery areas to determine the amount of time it takes and materials it takes to produce the fees. The data that is being presented to you is based on the staff's feedback on the time and materials it takes to deliver the services. When we were putting these fee schedules together, we look at City of Clayton and what does it cost City of Clayton and the cost to deliver the fees. A number of these fee schedules in here are all cost recovery fees, and there's the special event fees, which we will cover today as well, where we looked at another agency and they did something similar. And it's important to note that on that fee, not every agency charges something like that, just because agencies have other means of cost recovery or revenue increase from the special events when they are a transient, when they have hotel taxes or when they have sales taxes. So this is something that we put together on behalf of the request from the Budget Audit Committee and the city manager to look at the special event fees, and the only one that we were able to find something comparable and close by was another neighboring agency, which I'll be happy to answer any questions. My thought today was to go through each of the fee schedule and seek questions and directions, and then move to the next one, so we're not jumping from fee schedule to fee schedule, and we are in alignment of making sure that we can address the particular fees before we go into the other one. Is there if there's any questions, I'll be happy to answer. But once we are done with that fee schedule, we are hoping to wrap it up and take any notes on that. These fees definitely have been put together with the cost recovery in mind, full cost recovery, which includes salaries and benefits, and including any cost that we are paying our employees. Also time and materials cost, where there are some actual costs that, if there's a janitorial cost, there's actual cost that is being captured here. It's a comprehensive review of your fee schedule, and it really takes into account different components of operating expenses, and also the general support cost, which is the cost for human resources, finance, and other departments that support the fee program. The fees are put together to ensure that the cities are recovering costs. They are benefiting individuals or private entities. They are not subject to property taxes. It's important to note that there's certain fees. There's certain services that are part of the property tax or general revenues. For example, police protection services, and those are a part of your general revenue taxes. But fees that benefit a individual or group, those are full cost recovery. So moving on to the first fee schedule is the citywide service reimbursement fees. This is attachment 1. This is basically, the staff report describes the methodology, but this is really illustrates the hourly cost for employees that are providing the services. It's important to note we also looked into account the benefit packages under the new retirement, which is PEPRA, which is the new retirement formula that was established in 2013, because those fees are a bit lower than the members if they are part of the classics. So that's why the difference, if you see in parentheses PEPRA. Any questions on citywide hourly reimbursement fees before we move on to attachment 2? And I'll turn it over to you, Mr. Mayor, so you can manage any questions that the council members may have.
Sure. I would encourage you to kind of give a very high level and then reserve time for questions rather than going through section by section.
Okay, sounds good. Well, this concludes my presentation, and I'll be happy to answer any questions you may have, because as I mentioned, these fees are done with full cost recovery, and I'll be happy to answer any questions you council may have on any of the particular fees.
Questions from council? Okay.
Maybe turn yours off.
All right, go for it.
Okay. Nope. Is that better?
Yes.
There's still a little feedback. Okay. Thank you, Nitish. Try it again. Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Okay. We're going to see if we can try to, I know, see if we can try to work this out. Okay, so to start with, can you walk all of us through? And the reason I'm going to ask my question is because I want to know what the scope was. I know you mentioned it just a little bit, but I'm looking at the January 23rd Budget and Audit Committee agenda packet, what the full scope was. And in particular, it reads, prepare a report that identifies each fee service, its full cost, recommended and current cost recovery levels. The report will identify the direct cost, the indirect cost, and the overhead cost for each service. And I'm trying to see in here the breakdown, because I know you've given us proposed fees versus a current fees, et cetera. And I'm just trying to understand how we got to a lot of the calculations we got to in the book of fees. So can you walk me through the original scope versus what we got and how we got to where we are?
The original scope is still the same. Cost recovery fees are basically in all the fee schedules are applied, whereby the first component of the fees are calculated with the staff reimbursement cost, which includes direct cost, indirect cost, and then also the general support costs. So that's illustrated in the staff report, and that is the foundation. So once we establish the rate per employee, then we apply the number of hours that it takes to deliver the services, and we multiply the rate with the number of hours to come up with that. As an example, in your packet, we have included, I believe it's for the Clayton Community Park. Maybe let me see which item is that. It's one of those where we showed an example. It's page 20 of 28 in your staff report. What you'll see is that, for example, the hourly rate is $67, and that is, if you look at that $67 for maintenance worker 2, that illustrates the salaries and benefits, and then it also includes the indirect overhead for the department, and then the general support overhead, which is basically the finance, human resource, and other functions that support the fee area. You take that 67 and it takes 2 hours to provide that service, and you see the fees are listed at 134. So the scope has not changed. it's still the same. And the direct, indirect costs are based on the employee providing the services.
Okay. Further to my question, and why I'm asking it is, it seems that the language that's being used has changed in the last 5 or so months. I think we started off referring to it as the city was subsidizing fees. We're trying to get full cost recovery, which you've acknowledged today. We're also hearing actual cost versus market rate. And if there's no difference, can you explain that to the audience? And I'm asking because I've seen several things on social media, as well as people asking me the question as well. Can you describe the differences between all of those for the people who are here in the audience and those who are listening in?
Absolutely. Thank you, Council Member, for the question. So the first question you had was the subsidized fees. Whenever the fees are not fully recovering the cost, the general fund, general revenues offset that fees because the services are being delivered. So that's the subsidy portion. Yeah. The second component is the full cost recovery, which is basically the, as I described, the salaries and benefits and indirect costs, and then general support costs. We come up with the full cost recovery rate. And if you look at one of the examples that we have put in the as a supplemental information, you'll see that in page 3 of 3 on that document, scenario C, for the special event 5K or more people, you'll see that the city for 95.5 hours, the city billed 68.77. However, under full cost recovery, which is total benefit cost and everything else fully loaded, the cost would have been 14.325. So that is the difference. The third item that you're referring to, market rate, in fee studies, we don't do market rate. We have to be following the Proposition 26 guidelines on cost recovery. That is, you're not to make profit on this. So that is, so I'm not sure where market rate is coming from social media and stuff, but let me just stick it, just stick with the point that we look at in compliance with Proposition 26 and the fee that is being presented to you. So hopefully that answers your question, but I'll be happy to provide more insights.
Yeah, so you mentioned that we can't have any market rate fees due to Prop 26. Can you tell me then, on the same scenario C, it mentioned special event fees for 2 days will now be for 5,000 plus participants, it's $20,000. What is that fee?
So that is all the other fees are cost recovery. This is a fee that is the impact that events are causing on the when the city is putting that together. So as I mentioned, that we looked at another agency, what these fees are, what typical fees they are charged. Usually sometimes that, cities have, part of the revenue sharing program when special events are provided, whereby there's a fee charged for a ticket, a certain percentage goes to the city. And in this scenario that we presented to you, this is something that I will defer to our city attorney, because this is something that city manager requested us to look at what other agencies they do. If we do a street closure for special events, there are certain costs, there's certain economic and other benefits that are lost, and financial benefits. So this is something that we saw in another agency, that when you close a street, it basically becomes a park. So this is a policy issue in front of city council, which we mentioned to the finance audit committee, that this fees will require a policy direction from the city council, when to implement this fees and at what level, and what would be the components of the fees. What defines this as fees, what kind of street closure, or what kind of there's so many different variations that can go in it. So this fees will this is listed here, pay request of the city. We looked at another agency and we put it together for this council, but again, this will require a policy direction at some point if this fees are if this fee is implemented, this particular one. All the other ones are cost recovery.
Okay, so I'm going to keep probing on this piece just a little bit because I don't understand. So staff directed you or asked you to look at neighboring cities to understand what they do for their events. And we looked at Walnut Creek. Yes. Did you choose Walnut Creek, or did staff direct you to choose that city?
No, I looked at different cities, and it's not very common cities charge for this. As I mentioned in my opening statement, agencies or cities look at the economic and financial benefits. Some cities look at the sales tax benefits that comes with it. Some cities look at the transient occupancy taxes. Like, for example, if you're in Sacramento and you want events to happen at the Golden One Center, because that brings in the transient occupancy taxes, it brings in the sales taxes, so you keep your fees low. So it depends on the city and the policies that the city sets in place, and that's what this. And when I looked it up, it was very closest comparison was Walnut Creek and what they do, and they have similar sort of events, and that's where it came from.
Okay, so I know in speaking to Walnut Creek staff and people who work there, I'm just going to use a farmer's market, for example, that they have where they close down Locust Street. Excuse me. They have a contract with those farmers markets because they realize that it's a benefit to the community, and they have a $1 charge per year. So I'm trying to understand what exactly in Walnut Creek were we comparing this special event fee or street closure fee or whatever we're going to call this fee now. What part of Walnut Creek in an event were we looking at when you did your analysis for this?
We don't look at specific events. We look at the fee schedules and what is being charged. And if you look at Walnut Creek fee schedule, which was attached as to the staff report, and basically it illustrates that participants over 5,000 plus, they're set in fees. And we put something similar structure for City of Clayton. And it's a policy direction for City Council. Whatever they want to charge to nonprofits, farmers market, that is not what we do. We provide you with the fees that is consistent with some of the neighboring agencies, especially on this one.
I still don't understand that, and I'm sorry if it seems like I'm probing too much on this, but I can't let it go. So, are you saying then that because another neighboring city had the fee of $10,000 for 5,000 plus people on their website, because it's sounding like you did not speak to anyone there. Is that accurate?
Yeah, I don't have. Yeah, no. Usually we look at the data that's provided, and if it's sufficient, we go with it. If not, then we call. But this was very clear. And the direction from the city was very clear that we're looking at some of these opportunities. Again, this is something new that's being proposed to the city. It's a policy issue for the city council. I hope that city council can provide directions. That's what we're here. And you provide direction. You want these fees, whatever you want. What are the components for it? Our job is to put in front of you what is being calculated, or what's being very similar. If it's not something like this, and then it becomes a city council decision.
Okay, so there was no calculation or methodology. Who on staff directed you to do the exact work that you just described?
This was a city management discussion. It's to look into this opportunity, to look at what are some of the other agencies do. And let me just be clear, the agencies do this type of stuff. So it's not like it's uncommon. It's just it's how they set the fee schedules and like again I said, it's like based on other revenues that may come to the agency.
Okay. And then the haircut that you proposed for us to discuss, that's at 20, I think it's a 20% rate. How did you come up with that for your initial basis? Is that common as well, or is that just a number you threw out?
For which one?
So it looks like for the nonprofits that are Clayton based, there was a haircut of 20%.
Yeah, that is a policy direction that we are seeking from you. We came up with 20%. It's common. Some they do 10%, but it's a policy. Where does Clayton want to set that policy?
Okay, so it could be 50. It could be
50.
75. Yeah. It could be any number that we want. That's why I'm asking why 20 was put on there in front of us today.
Absolutely. It's to get some direction. It could be 0.
Okay. I noticed that we no longer refer to in this agenda packet, the special events. We no longer refer to it as a street closure fee as we had up until this last agenda was updated. Was that a direct change? And if so, who directed that?
No, it makes sense to have a special event fee, and not a street closure, because you're limiting your street closures. Whenever you close your street, it becomes a park. It becomes an area that people can rent out for their special events. So we kept it simple as special events.
But up until this point, and all of the agenda packets that we had received that were either given to the Budget Audit Committee or to the entire body, it's been referred to as a street closure fee. So this is a direct change in this agenda packet, and I'm asking why it's changed.
We cleaned it up on this section. And again,
So
if
you did it at no
if-
direction of anybody else here on staff.
no, of course, I work with the city staff on that, and but I'm not gonna just do stuff. But it's very common to say this is special events. Again, this is a policy issue for the council. If the council wants to put street closure name or any other name, what I think we're describing is that when you have participants 5,000 or 3,000, these are the fee schedule. We don't really, the naming optics is, it's whatever it can be.
Sure. So I know that you weren't able to make it to the last marathon meeting that we had when we were discussing this. So you were missed. And we were asking, I know that the public was asking, I think that Councilmember Cloven and I might have been asking as well. And we were trying to understand what the difference was for the sliding scale. I think it was, I don't have it in front of me right now, with the different tiers were for a street closure fee. And we were trying to understand why it jumped up the way that it did for the fees. And so I know that you're saying if there's a special event fee that you could charge whatever you want, but the tiering structure that we saw, what is the difference in, I'm just going to use because it was $10,000 that was given. What makes it that much higher to have an event for 250 people versus the 5,000, other than, you can't hear us?
Yeah, I can.
I think you need to enunciate loud.
Oh, sorry. I'll talk
Oh,
louder.
no, I can hear you.
Audience. I feel like I'm screaming into my computer though.
Oh,
I'm trying to understand. So for the tiering that was done for the special events policy, you had on your original agenda, and I'm looking over here because Councilmember Cloven has his computer up for me. You had it at 100 to 499 participants was $560. And then it just goes up from there incrementally. When you get to the event size of 5,000 plus participants, it goes up to $8,000. That's in this agenda packet. And I'm trying to understand what is in that fee if we are already, or entities are already paying for maintenance and police staff. If you're closing off the streets, maintenance is already putting down the same barricades, because the same street, they put down the barricades and then the PD erects them to make sure that everything is safe. So since it's the same city blocks that are blocked off, what is causing that incremental increase in the fee?
Okay, very good question, and I appreciate that. So the fees, if you look at page 25 of 28 of the packet, and you'll look at the special event fees, and you'll see a couple of components of the fees. First component of the fees, I'm going to be focusing on the special events that are, 100 to plus. The first component is the application fee, which is $42. The second component of the fee is city staff reimbursement fees, basically the cost of PD and public works. And again, you probably also want to look at scenario C in your supplemental information, because that clearly highlights that. Mm-hmm. So that's the second component. And then the third component is other actual costs that it takes. If we have to rent, any special equipment or anything that for that is cost. Then the fourth component is really the fees that is being presented as we looked at other agency, and that component is basically the fees that's lost when we have a lot of people, 5,000 plus. It could be it's a large event, and probably a police chief is in this meeting as well, and he can chime in, but that's a large event, and that is the economic benefit or the opportunity cost fee that is being proposed in front of council for direction. The first three components of the fees, I definitely know that is cost recovery, what it costs us. The fourth component is a direction that we're seeking from council.
Okay, so on that fourth component, I'm still trying to understand the difference on the large event, which is what you just called it. You called it a large event.
Yeah.
And I would, if Chief McKeechin is on, I do want to have him chime in as well, because PD is going to staff according to the event, which they do, and those costs are already paid for the event. Because when you put in your temporary use permit and then the community development director bills the entity for that event, great, thank you very much for promoting him. Maintenance and then PD, after the event is over, they do an estimate first, and then afterwards they bill you what the actuals were. So for the actual number of bodies that you had to have, the number of hours they had to work, etc. So I'm trying to understand from, yes, you might have different PD there. If you have a larger event, you need more security. But I'm finding it hard to believe, and I know it not to be true, that that's how much it cost for the additional officers. And we would pay for that hourly anyway. So I need to understand what the difference is for the increased amount.
And let me just make it,
for this fourth component and what we're actually paying for, or asking people to pay for.
Let me just make it very clear. So
Okay.
The third component is the fees I talked about is city staff reimbursement. That covers for PD costs. If the event is 10,000 people, 15,000 people, whatever it takes, that's part of that. This fee is the special event fees, has nothing to do with the staff reimbursement or the materials, time and materials it takes to provide the event. This fee is basically you have people coming into your city, they are impacting your city, and are you doing some kind of recovery for that? And that's what this fee is. And this is very common, as you saw in Walnut Creek. And as I mentioned that in other agencies, they have something similar, maybe not at the same level, but this is a policy direction we're seeking from this council. Is this something that the council will support? What is the appropriate fee level they want to set? What is the appropriate fees for nonprofit? All those nuances can, we are seeking direction on that. We are putting this in front of you to seek direction.
Okay, so impact fees, what can be impacted? Can you give me examples of what other cities that you've worked with have considered to be part of impact fees, and what?
I would not use impact fees, but
I can't hear you at all. I don't know what's going on.
Economic impact. So when you have 10,000 people visiting your city, and if you're covering the costs for the event itself, the police costs, public works costs, and if they're not staying in your city, that is a revenue that is there's an impact that is lost. So really looking at that, we are putting this in front of the city council for direction. It's up to the council to either you want to do this fee or you don't want to do this fee. We know that we are covering our costs to provide services to the event.
I'm not opposed to charging it if I know what it means. And so what I'm asking is, in your expert opinion on doing these analysis, because I know you just completed one for the city of Sonoma a couple of weeks ago. Yep. I'm trying to understand, what does an impact fee look like? So you're saying it's individuals coming into town, and because they're transient and they don't live here, we're missing out on making money off of them. I'm not understanding what you mean by impact fees and what exactly is impacted.
So when you have events, special events, as a city, part of your special event and is to promote and you set fees at a level, and those events will bring in the revenues to the city in sales tax, transient occupancy taxes, and those events they have. So in this scenario, what you see that we put together for you is similar to what we said is City of Walnut Creek has something like this, where there's participants, they come in and the city charges per participants. And we are just bringing this in front of you, what we see at other cities, knowing Clayton's economic base and knowing that there's a lot of people from outside coming here. Again, this is something that is up to the council to provide direction on. And this is something that is very new to Clayton. This fees does not exist for you. So we are seeking your direction. And I'm hoping us other council members will be able to, even our budget audit committee heard this conversation as well too. So they can chime in, because there's a reason we take this item to budget audit committee before it goes to council to get their direction and to put it in front of you.
Understood. And I can see that Councilmember Trupiano has her hand up. She looks like she wants to chime in here, and I'm happy to let her before I keep going on with my questions. Go ahead. Well, hold on. Let me mark it first.
So I think, and other council members, feel free to jump in. And Jeff,
Yeah.
you can't hear me?
Use your
So-
super loud voice.
I'm going to use my super loud voice. So one of the things that I guess my feeling is that, and we may have talked about this on the Budget and Audit Committee, is that when you close an entire downtown, right, that means many citizens in this community cannot use the downtown services, right? They can't use the parks, they can't use the streets, they might have trouble getting access to other businesses. And we know that we heard last year from many businesses in the downtown that this was a problem. Beauty salon service industry, it was too many events. People couldn't get to access their businesses. So I think we want to make sure that when our downtown is closed, and that means all of our citizens do not have access to it, that we're being compensated for it. I guess that's how I'm looking at it. Because that doesn't mean that all of our citizens are going to these events that are downtown. So I think there's traffic impact, certainly coming in and out of our community, restriction on businesses, and then our citizens not having access to their own downtown because there's an event going on. That's my opinion.
So I'm gonna say it really loud and hopefully it comes to another computer and you guys can all hear me. Does that mean then that it's only, you're seeing this as a street closure fee then, not necessarily any events downtown?
No, I'm seeing it as a special event, whatever you call a special event fee, that when you're bringing in a large event, I mean, we're talking 5,000 is even minimal. I bet some of our events are 20,000 or more people. You're restricting access to our downtown community, right? I can't turn down certain streets. I can't go hang out at the Grove. I may not be able to get to some of my stores or restaurants or my beauty salon or spa. So I think it has a huge impact on the downtown. That's what I'm saying.
Okay, so then in that scenario then, what benefit are those businesses then that are impacted getting from the city? Because it seems as if the city, this building, is the one who benefits from these fees that we're now going to charge. It isn't like we're giving it back to the businesses that are impacted downtown. So I'm trying to understand the connection to businesses downtown lost business, or the foot traffic residents can't get downtown to do whatever they might want to do. Therefore, this building and this council is now going to take fees from whoever's putting on the events because we can. And it doesn't benefit the people that are actually impacted. I'm trying to understand how that works.
Well, yes and no, because if you have a city that's receiving full cost recovery, that makes the city a healthier place with better financial standing, right? That, I mean, we are talking about full cost recovery. And I think until now, we have completely underestimated our staff time. We always talk about how much we love the staff and how hard they work. But I think we've underestimated how much they put into a lot of these events. So I think that's incorporated into a lot of these new fees.
Well, it should be incorporated in the first three, per Natish's explanation, not number 4, which is what we're talking about right now, right? So this is just impact fees, right?
Yes.
I wouldn't call them. I think they're just fees, and I think it'd be
It's
better.
just fees. It's just fee. It's, oh, sorry, Mr. Mayor. I didn't want
Alright,
to.
I'm on
Go
mute. Okay, so I think it'd be better if we focus on questions for Natish in the beginning, and then when it comes back to discussion, we can have that discussion.
Fair. Okay. So
I cannot hear anymore. Is that allow?
Is that better?
Yes, that's good. Sorry.
Sorry. I was saying, based on everything that you can hear from Councilmember Trupiano, And even what the mayor just said, as far as not calling them impact fees, I
Yes.
want to know what your thoughts are on that, because
Yeah.
you're very specific on completing these for other cities, especially given that you just completed one 2 weeks ago for the city of Sonoma
Yes.
or town of Sonoma.
Mhm.
Are these impact fees or not?
These are not impact fees. These are special event fees. And as Councilmember Trupiano described it, that's exactly what I've also the other component. I talked about the revenue component that people coming in, but it also creates the access or it creates a, as Councilmember Trupiano described it, the residents are not able to access it, so when it's a large event, you close off the streets, people have to go around. So this is something that I think she described it well. So it's not an impact fee, it's a special event fees for having events, large events, or events at different category size, and that's what we put in front of you.
Okay, so then why then, and I'm not trying to be argumentative with you, but I'm getting a little frustrated on, it seems like a bait and switch. For about the first 20 minutes, as you were describing this, you called them impact fees. And in fact, you did it right before Councilmember Trupiano raised her hand. So now it's not an impact fee for category number 4. And I want to know why it's now not an impact fee, as you had just said it was.
If it was impact fees, it would have been listed as impact fees. Impact fees has its own nexus study done. It's a different type of fee study that's done mostly for development related projects, like, and this is a special event fees as listed on page 25 or 28 of the staff report. Special event fees paid in advance for events. That's category number 4, as I described, for different participant levels.
Okay. So then why did you refer to them as impact fees yourself? And I'm asking this because I think this is why people are getting frustrated within the community, because it's confusing when we're hearing different terminology being used. And you had just referred to it throughout this meeting as impact fees for component number 4. You're shaking your head like you don't agree, but you did. And so I'm trying to caution you, and I understand it's not in the agenda, but in using terminology that then we're then going to pivot and say, it's not that anymore. It's very confusing for people to follow along with this discussion.
And again, and I didn't mean to say impact fees. If I'm talking about the impact it creates in the community, that's what I'm talking about when you have, but I am sticking with the fee that is in front of City Council, and it says special event fees. It's not an impact fee like when you do a development project, you have to pay traffic impact fee, parking. It's not an impact fee. So let me just make that clear.
Okay, so is the 4th component then still trying to focus on economic recovery?
It's a number of components, as Councilmember Trupiano also described, as it's a special event fees for participants coming to the city. It's it's the when they close the streets or the events happen, and it creates I talked about the revenue side of it, and Councilmember Trupiano talked about the residents and what they have to go through, and the business, and that they have to also they also have to go through when there's large events.
Okay. I'm going to let Councilmember Cloven or somebody else jump in if they want to, and I'll give you a break from my voice for now.
Yeah, thank you.
Let me turn mine off. Want to switch seats so you can come in with this microphone?
No, you can hear me okay?
Yes.
Greetings, Nitish.
Oh, greetings.
It's a pleasure to actually talk to you in person. I want to let you know that I appreciate your efforts, and I know this past 8 months with us has been challenging with the turnover in personnel. Turnover has been kind of crazy, but I also want to acknowledge that you have certain expertise. Looking at your LinkedIn profile, I did look at the Sonoma fee schedule, which you just put together for the city of Sonoma. What I really was impressed with, Nitish, was that fee schedule, which was published as a link on your document, effective date June 30th, 2023, had some great work papers in it, which really gets into fee cost worksheets and how you actually derive the fees for each category. It was, now granted, they have categories that we do not have in public works and fire services, but it was very well done, and I appreciate that. But when I get to page 213 of that particular fee schedule, there is a particular subcategory that says special event fee summary sheet. And when they talk about large scale special event permit application processing fees, it went from $15.28 last year to $16.18 this year. I'm just saying that that's a pretty substantially reduced fee compared to what we're proposing here. And Sonoma is a great little town with a great little town center, which is where they do these events. Not too dissimilar from what we do here in Clayton. So, can you give me again how you chose our $10,000 fee? Because Walnut Creek is using a park. They're not using downtown. What they are using for downtown is the farmers market, which they feel is a benefit to the citizens for a significantly reduced fee. And they're charging a chamber of commerce, which is getting significant fees from all its commercial tenants or commercial vendors. No, if you're a vendor in Clayton in Walnut Creek, you pay fees to be part of the Chamber of Commerce, and it's a significantly different organization than our all volunteer. Nobody gets paid CBCA. So I think we're talking apples and apples, and I just want to figure out how you got to this and why there weren't other comps other than that one.
And thank you, Council Member Cloven, for the question and also looking up my recent project. So in City of Sonoma, the fees are based on what Sonoma provides the staff and the resources, and it's important to note the economic base for Sonoma is different than Clayton. So, but let me just focus on Clayton and this fees that you are asking about, the $10,000. This is a presentation item to the City Council to seek direction. And we basically looked at what the neighboring agency, and the only one we were able to find was Walnut Creek, which I put that in the packet as well. And it is a council direction that whatever you want to set this, again, you are already recovering your full cost with police, public works, and your application fees. So you already included recovering all that. As Councilmember Tripiano described as well too, this is the fee that we put in front of you to seek your feedback. If you want to charge this fee, you don't want to charge this fee, at what level you want to charge, that's a council direction that we are seeking.
Thank you, Nitish. I appreciate that. I am looking at now our supplemental rental costs versus current handout that was just given to us 2.5 hours ago. Under scenario C, there's a special event similar to Art and Wine Festival handout. The existing fees paid in 2023, according to this handout, was $9,124 by CBCA. I understand that's pretty close to what they actually paid. When you look at your proposed fees based on the fully burdened labor cost, that's going to go up from $9,100 to $16,800, an 85% increase in cost. And yes, Councilmember Diaz, I completely agree with you. Full cost recovery should be done. And I don't think there's a challenge with full cost recovery, and there's an 85% increase in those costs, and that should be collected and made sure that the city is whole for all of its services. Where I have the challenge is in this special event fees on top of that, which would take the cost for that event from $9,100 to $36,800 per the fee schedule. Getting back to this particular spreadsheet which you provided, Nitish, the problem I have with it is there's a perception that you could calculate these costs by going to the fee schedule presented? And it's simple. I don't think so. It's not simple. Then there's several things that are missing from this particular cost estimate that I'm not sure would be added on even on top of that. Where is the noise fee? Where is the alcohol fee? Where is fees for individual facilities and the use of like Endeavor Hall and maybe the Grove? Or is that all included? It's not apparent, it's not transparent, and it's not clear. I don't know what the fees will be next year. And it's not easy to see based on the fee schedule presented to us. Can you give me some clarification on that?
Absolutely, Councilmember Cloven. So let me just, we were putting some scenarios for this council just to see what a typical, application fee will cost. And one of the things that we did as part of the other costs that you'll see in 9124, $903, that actually incorporates some of the things that you're describing that the cost should be for, as I understand from staff, and staff is on the call probably here today because this came from staff, that it costs us $91.24 for the fees to the art and wine festivals as an example. And under the full cost recovery, this fee will be $16,860 because we are making sure that we apply the, the fully burdened labor rate. As far as the special event fees go, I made it very clear in that document on page 3 of 3 that the current fee is $0 and the proposed fee is $20,000 if the council, if the council, let's just say, approves this. But that is a direction we're seeking for council today. That's why we are here today, to seek that direction from you and from you all, to see where do you want to set that fees and if you don't even want to set that fees. So our job is to present this to you and seek direction from you on that $20,000. The $16,860 is full cost recovery.
Does anybody else have anything? Are you guys good? Okay.
I got other questions.
Yeah, in the interest of time, was there?
To the public comment.
To public comment.
Yeah. I just have one more. I just want to confirm what you just said. To Councilmember Cloven, which was the city is already, you said you are already recovering full costs. And I want to confirm that. You are confirming that up until today, the city has recovered full costs for events. That's accurate.
What I said in my statement is that under proposed fees for police and public works, you'll see the numbers have changed, but other costs are basically the cost that is it's the hard cost. With that number has not changed. What I said in my statement is under full cost recovery, police services for 95 hours will be $14,000 and public works will be $1,600, and total cost will be $16,000 compared to $9,000.
Okay, so full cost recovery is the top half of the schedule for scenario C.
Mm-hmm.
And by doing that, the city recoups all the costs that it's due.
And under this proposed fees, the city will recover, and that's exactly what I was trying to describe, the 4 steps. Mm-hmm.
Yes. Perfect.
For staff, right? For staff.
Time and materials.
For everything. Public works, other actual costs, police services, everything that he has in this scenario C. That's why I
thought those were staff costs, police services, public works, and other actual costs. I'm assuming is administrative.
It's
That's staff.
It's no other actual costs are janitorial costs. It's the rental hall fees cost. It's the and I'm sure that Dana is probably on today and she can provide that to you. But we have fully cost recovering under the proposed fees for police services, public works, and other costs are the same number under both scenarios. It's whatever it costs us, we pass through to the the applicant.
Okay, and my final question is, how much did we lose? We can even look in last year, 2022, 23 year, in revenue due to rentals versus special events.
I'm not sure if I understand the question.
Okay, so if we weren't fully recovering costs before this is approved? How much did we lose in revenue per year? How much is the city losing in revenue by not recouping full costs?
So under the current analysis that we looked at, that $36,000 is approximate fee increase, and of that, about 16,000 is the again, this is assuming that everybody stays the same. 16,000 is the cost recovery portion, and then 20,000 we estimated was for if these fees are in place, because we had events or larger than 5,000. So we accounted for 2 of the events. So that's why in the budget, we did not include that as in there, so 16,000 is the cost recovery portion, and the others is the special event if the council chooses to approve it.
Okay, that confused me just a little bit. So what I'm trying to understand is there are special events in which you're saying we can now charge this additional fee for, and then there are rentals that happen throughout a calendar year. Do you know how much we did not fully recover for rentals, meaning in Deborah Hall, the parks, the picnic tables, etc.? That's one bucket. And then I would also like to know, it sounds like you're trying to say what we weren't getting is about $16,000, but it's probably more like $7,400 in full cost recovery between what's existing and what's proposed. I'm trying to understand for the special events, this is only one event. There's multiple special events a year. How much did the city not actually recover for full recovery costs last year for special events and for rentals?
Thank you for the question, and that was not in the scope of the work that we analyzed. But if that's something council wants us to look into, that we'll definitely look at that, and I'll defer to the city manager on this one too.
Yeah, the reason why I'm asking is we're presuming, and we just approved a budget last Tuesday to add in an additional 36,000 for our book of fees, because that's what we were saying we should be able to make. And we're estimating, and we'll figure that out next year and see how it actually penciled out, what the actual numbers were. How do we know it's not more than that? So if the goal is to not subsidize the city and have residents subsidizing the city based off of the events that are happening, how do we know it's not more than that? And conversely, how do we know that's the right amount? I see the scenario for one event in this scenario C is about $36,000. And so my question is it accurate? I know that it's estimates, but how do we know it's not on the higher end that it should be? That's the point that I'm trying to get at. And it's something that I think that our staff should noodle on. I hear you're saying that you'll take direction from the city manager on whether or not we need to change the scope. But I would think if we're trying to figure out how to make the city whole, that's in scope. And that should be the number that we're trying to put into our budget that we approve for the upcoming fiscal year. Do you not agree?
What we are tasked to do is to calculate the full cost recovery rate for the city of Clayton for different fee schedules, which we did. And your question about what is the difference between the pay particular fees, we looked at how much time and materials it takes, and we produced a fee schedule that is in front of you. And that is the task that we are assigned to do. When you're asking about the budget, the 36,000, agencies don't put those fees, the fee revenues as part of their budget. They usually do a mid-year adjustment, and they look at the fee revenues and look at C, because fees can vary. The participations can vary. So usually that's done at the mid-year level. But to answer your question, to be very specific, we are not here to analyze what happened between the cities, what the city's collecting and what the full cost recovery. We look at each fees and we ask staff how much time and materials it takes, and that's what is being presented in front of you.
Okay.
If you want us to do that work, we'll be happy to.
Then on what you just said.
Go ahead, sorry.
In the budget that was presented to us last week, and I thought that it had your name on it.
Yes, it did.
For our Monday meeting, it's somewhere on the floor. I won't dig for it. I thought that the budget that was presented to us to sign off on included a section for book of fees and a $36,000 figure. And now you're saying that should not have been in there?
I did not say that. What I said.
Okay, can you repeat it then?
I did not say what you just, the statement that you just made. What I said that is $36,000 in supplemental budget that they council approved. It wasn't part of your revenues and expenditures, which we presented a balanced budget. It was $36,000 estimate that we did, that if these fees are being adopted, we looked at certain categories. We counted 2 events, as I mentioned, and that was 20,000, and then 16,000 is the cost recovery, which we did not do a very detailed analysis, but we estimated that this is the range. It could be higher. Hopefully it's higher than that. You always want your revenues to be, higher in full cost recovery, but it is based on full cost recovery. So if somebody is renting a Endeavor Hall, they will be paying the full cost recovery.
Okay, thanks. I'm gonna let Councilmember Triviano go.
I suggest that we take public comment, and then we can move to discussion. So I'd open public comment, and keep in mind, in the time, we are limiting public comment to 90 seconds. So please limit your comments to that. And we don't have speaker cards, but whoever wants to go, we do have speaker cards.
City clerk has speaker cards, I believe, Mayor.
Who would like to raise their hand first? Mr. Hartley, please.
Mayor Juan, I do not have any physical speaker cards in my office, but I do have some hands raised on Zoom when we're done with the people who are actually here.
Okay, we'll take the people here and then we'll go to people online.
Thank you. 90 seconds doesn't begin to allow for the problems with this presentation. The only thing that has been transparent in this entire presentation is that this special event fee is a profit. Since there is no data on actual impact to city property or anything else, there's just fuzzy words about impacts. And so why don't you just call it what it is? This is a profit for having an event. What I don't understand is if this is an impact because I can't get to Moressi's Chop House when I want to, or to the Village Market, and if they lose money because of the event, then seems it stands to reason they should get some compensation from the city for that. On the other hand, if any of these businesses make money because of the event, is the city going to ask them to pay the city for making money on the event? I don't think the answer is yes. The other thing about special event is the very definition of special event. This is at 5,000 plus participants. If somebody wanted to have something where they rented Main Street all day.
Thank you, Ed. I think that's there. 90 seconds. Can move on to the next speaker.
They rented it all day.
Thank you, Ed.
With 500 people, they would still be charged $20,000. That makes no sense at all.
Where's the timer?
The timer is on.
I can't see it. I can't see it, but we'll use
Can
my
we
phone.
flip it? Can we flip it? Because that way we can judge our. The more information you have, the better off we can speak.
Hello, I'm Howard Kaplan, 1194 Easley Drive. I came to the city council several weeks ago and asked about the fixed and variable costs associated with special events. I've not seen an answer until maybe 10 minutes ago. But Mayor Juan read the exception to Prop 26 at that time. Prop 26 limits fees to cost recovery. The exception is for facilities. This exception clarified that the fee for facilities is not based on cost recovery, but is instead a revenue enhancing opportunity, which I think of as a tax. Are streets, sidewalks, and bare land really facilities? Today, I'm asking about the comparability of Walnut Creek fees. No data has been provided to allow comparisons or adjustments for area, landscape impacts, if security is included or not. What is included in the comparable is the question I'm asking today. The city council can decide if the citizens of Clayton want to impose a fee or tax on its most successful community-based charitable nonprofit to add revenue to the city coffers. Make no mistake, this is what the decision is all about. You can. I would just want to say 90 seconds is inadequate.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. My comments are very short. I think people have covered things very well. Just a couple of things. The rate sheet that's included in here is obviously for Heather Farm Park and so forth. This is where the 10,000 tiered rates come from, Walnut Creek. And I mean, that is a 103 acre park, which definitely does have, I guarantee, I know people within the city of Walnut Creek, that $10,000 gets spread to, you know, people taking care of the gardens and the pond and all that stuff. So there's a cost recovery model. It's still just cost recovery really for them. They're making it so that they can take care of the facility itself. I don't think we throw a new slurry of pitch on top of the streets after we do these events. So I don't think the $10,000 a day here really kind of makes sense. But overall, I just wanted to say that as I look at the rates here, they don't seem to reflect what the area corresponds to. And the rates for the Endeavor Hall is higher than a place that's 4 times higher. There are the picnic tables are more expensive than Walnut Creek. I don't think these are representative of the costs of this area. Thank you.
Thank you. Just show of hands and would help me out. I don't know the cards.
I really don't want to sit down because I really do a much better job.
You can make whatever fashion.
Is that better?
Pick it up.
Okay. Anyway, what I want to talk, so just we start good, perfect. Kim, you said you can't hang down at the Grove. Actually, when the downtown is shut off, all the streets are not locked. There's a street where the post office is on. That's actually open to traffic and has to be open to traffic because we have residents up in the back corner over there that need in and out access. And as far as getting access to the beauty shop, their parking lot is best access from the street where the post office is on. So I can't see how any business would complain except for what I call it the Trump deli. But I see him busier when we have an event downtown. Next thing is, because I got 50 seconds left, so I'm going to keep on going. When the council said it's not in the business of it's not in our scope to do this, you can't predict the future without knowing what happened in the past. And he's saying, I'm looking at my projected cost now. Well, those are projected costs. This is a very simple matter. I don't know why we're making such a big deal about a very easy process. List the fees, list the quantities, there's your dollars. Do it for one scenario, do it for another scenario. Then you've got a full mix rate variant, you've got a full mix quantity variant, and you've got your full mix dollars. From there, you can then play with your quantities and you can play with your costs and your revenue. But nobody wants to do that simple financial analysis. And that, I do not understand why. Thank you.
Next speaker.
I've got several items here, and I will try and say them quickly. First one, I would appreciate if the city manager, once we get to the comment section, would opine on the legality of reducing the public comments time. I don't think that there's precedent of that ever being done in Clayton, so I would like to understand that a little bit better. And then secondly, I want to comment on the scope of work from the January 23rd Budget and Audit Committee. And specifically point out where it talks about looking at comparable cities as far as looking at other fee comparisons. Walnut Creek is 70,000 residents and 20 square miles, not comparable. I also want to point out here the difference in the wording that goes on from agenda to agenda. So when we go from the May 12th meeting, it is under the special event fee. It is called that this is a fee so that it'll be charged for exclusive use of city-owned assets. Then that changes on June 6th to it's a fee being charged for impacts of events. Then that changes on the 20th to the city hasn't been active in collecting fees. And then it references Walnut Creek again. And says that that's where the information is coming from. This has not been transparent. This has not been changed. One last piece, the city gets incremental sales tax from every one of these events on the order of about $3,000 per event. So when you talk about not getting money back or not getting money and losing money from the city's perspective, I don't think that's actually the case.
Thank you. And now the next speaker.
Hi. There's been a lot of talk in the last few months about the CBCA and the large group fee increases, which do concern me as well as everyone else. But one thing that I think is being lost in all of this is the huge increase in costs for Clayton residents who wish to rent the spaces in our parks. Many people rent the spaces for birthday parties and for team parties, family celebrations. The increase in these fees in these spaces will price folks out of wanting to rent in the parks. For example, in the Clayton Community Park, the price is being raised over $200 per day for a rental. I looked into renting space at Heather Farms in Walnut Creek, and their largest picnic area, permitting up to 300 people, is $385 per day. The same space in our park is $769 per day. The hours were all messed up on the last sheet. I highlighted it. Some were for 8 hours, some were for 12 hours, some were for 3 hours, even though there was a 4-hour minimum. I see it's been corrected on this somewhat. So I'm not going to talk on that. But I don't understand where these fees came from and how they came about. I think that is restrictive to Clayton families to be able to rent space in our park.
Next speaker. Janet, we have her hands raised. Please, I will let you control the order.
Okay, our first speaker is Gloria. Gloria, as I promote you to panelist, if you can please unmute your microphone, you will have 1 minute and 30 seconds to speak. It looks like we're having an issue to promote to panelists, so I will allow to speak.
Can you hear me?
We can hear you.
Okay, good. No, my question was with the special event fee. Is that strictly a special event fee and that's not based on the market rate, so it doesn't have anything to do with Prop 26? So
Is
there's,
that, I want to make sure that you have enough time to answer your question.
pardon me?
I want to ensure you that you utilize your time. Is that the end of your comment?
No, I wanted to know if that is that it doesn't have an actual cost that needs to be recovered. It's just a fee that the city imposes on the event organizer. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay, because there is actually really no cost to close the street, because if there are any barricades or anything, those are additional. Is that correct?
Yeah, I'm not allowed to go back and forth on Q&A with comment, so I would ask that you can use your time to make your comment.
All right, that's it.
Thank you.
Our next speaker is AJ. I will allow you to speak. You will have 1 minute, 30 seconds.
Okay, hello, can you hear me? You can?
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
great. So should the CBCA and other organizations pay their fair share to host events in the city of Clayton? Absolutely yes, with the key word being fair. My question to the city council is, what is the justification for charging a sliding rate event fee based on attendance in addition to actual staff and city fees? Why does it cost more to hold an event with 500 people compared to 5,000 people? If the answer is because it uses more city resources, yet you're charging actual staff and city costs on top of the fees, this is double dipping and creating an event tax, not an event fee. There's nothing fair about that. If we look at Livermore, by the way, Livermore is a perfect example you should have looked at, that holds similar events that close off sections of their downtown. Livermore does not charge an event fee based on attendance. Instead, they just charge actual staff costs plus overhead. That's a fair price to pay. From what I gather, Walnut Creek's fees based off the attachment included in the agenda, Walnut Creek is just charging an event fee based on attendance. Nowhere on that sheet or their website does it state they're charging full staff costs on top of the event fee. That is also a fair price to pay. It appears the city of Clayton is using a combination of both Livermore and Walnut Creek, and in effect double dipping when it comes to special events, taking money away from investments back into the community in the forms of educational programs, scholarships, and enhancements to our city like Daffodil Hill and our iconic gazebo in Grove Park that was a gift to the city from the CBCA. There's nothing fair about that. Thank you.
Our next speaker is Rosie.
Am I on? All right. So Rosie Straka here from Peacock Creek neighborhood. I wasn't going to bother coming to this meeting, but I decided that I would come and tell you why. The city council meetings are like the movie Groundhog's Day now. Here's how every single meeting goes since Juan has been mayor. The majority of the public's comments are pleading for the council to do the right thing, most recently with this ridiculous proposed fee schedule. Clearly, Juan does not care. He just sits there bored and uninterested, unless it's to silence the city manager for trying to make a recommendation that Juan doesn't agree with. He just silenced this majority even more by cutting the speaking time in half. Now cue Diaz. He asks a question about something that's already been covered because he also is not paying attention. He already knows how he's going to vote. Plus, he's too busy texting with people in the audience. Then Trupiano chimes in. Well, I don't know, and then pretends to consider what the public is pleading for, but then consistently votes against the will of the majority and votes with Juan and Diaz. Oh, and the only people that complained, and only on the Pride Parade from downtown, were Canessa's and the hair salon. All the other restaurants loved it and participated. Lastly, the public, Tillman and Cloven, try to ask for time for documentation, and it always comes down to Juan saying, "No, I'm comfortable with my decision. Your meetings are a joke. Happy Groundhog's Day."
Our next speaker is Javier.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. All right. My name is Javier Castaneda. I'm from Upper Easley. My question is, how much were council members in direct contact with the consultant outside of budget and audit and or city council meetings, inclusive of levels of fees, comparables used, or any other communication that would be deemed pressure outside the public process? That's it.
Our next speaker is Susan.
Hey, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, thank you for the special meeting today. It was important to hear these details about this proposed plan. But what I have gathered is this is not about covering costs to the city anymore. Everyone agrees that the city should recover every and all actual costs associated with their events. Increases in the actual cost of running an event isn't the issue here. The CBCA paying their bills was never the problem. This is about a tax, a $20,000 tax labeled as a special event fee. This was previously referred to as a street closure fee, but maybe when they realized that Los Angeles, they charge $312 per day to close a street, but Clayton wanted to charge $10,000 a day. So they switched wordings, but they didn't switch the fee, because back with our last Oktoberfest, I overheard somebody saying $20,000. This magic number keeps reappearing. It's not recovering costs. Why are we renting out Endeavor Hall for more money than a special event space in Walnut Creek that has twice the capacity? These numbers appear to discourage usage. Market rates, how does Clayton charge more than Heather Farms? The CBCA is giving.
Our next speaker is Meredith.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you. I'm a little bit peeved that all our comments have been limited to 90 minutes or seconds. It's a bit ridiculous and seems undemocratic. I have big concerns with what appears to be city raising money based on volunteer group events. And the work of nonprofits. It seems like a shell game. Mr. Natish, you keep saying, "Oh, it's a fee for lost youth, or for street closure, or for recouping costs," and it just seems like it's a way to make revenue off of the back of volunteer organizations and volunteer hours. It sounds fishy to me. It seems like a clear violation of I don't remember what prop it was, but was it 26? Yeah, we shouldn't be. If the money was going directly to the businesses that were losing business because of crowding in the Grove or whatnot, that might make sense, but it's not. Where are the numbers, Jeff Wan? Where are the numbers? You always talk about having numbers. You've never given us any. I want the cost of what it costs.
Thank you, Meredith.
Our next speaker is Jeremy.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Great. I really have a couple of pretty simple questions. Was there any analysis done to figure out what the impact to the city will be if we lose events in terms of tax revenue from outside participants? And in addition, not considering the special event fee, is there any analysis on the increase of other permitting and use fees within the city, of potential lost revenue from citizens simply choosing not to file the appropriate permits or pay the appropriate fees and using the city services or the city amenities without reserving them? And if the city is going to then attempt to recoup those costs, what is the cost of enforcement of those fees? Is there any analysis along those lines? Because I haven't seen anything. Thank you.
Mayor Wan, I do not have any other hands raised on this item.
Thank you. All right, just doing a quick pass. If anyone else has a hand raised. All right, with that, I will close public comment and move it back for discussion. Now, I did buffer just a little bit of extra time, but I want to make sure that we're aware that one of the reasons that we did curtail comment as well as the time urgency is that sure. So one of the reasons that we did reduce the time to 90 seconds for public comment as well as this time, and we did inform all council members about the time constraints, is that we will lose a quorum at a certain time later this evening. And so I want to make sure that we have enough time to discuss and give direction to staff. So with that, I will bring it back to council. And if there's any other comment that anyone would like to make now or suggestion on anything that is here, I think now is the time.
Yes, based off of the last speaker, looks like it was Jeremy. He had a great question, and so I am curious then regarding the analysis that you had completed. Can you hear me? Am I muted? Am I unmuted? Okay, good. Was there any analysis done on the impact to our revenues if the city does not, if events are not put on in town, and what enforcement mechanism will be put in place to recoup those costs if people are not pulling permits? For example, permits for the parks, street closures if they want to have block parties, et cetera. This is kind of getting to what I was asking on whether or not analysis was done on what type of rentals versus special events were occurring. And so I'm curious if any staff in the last few months, even going all the way back to December, when your contract was extended to do this fee analysis for us, did that come up at all during that?
And there was a lot of echo going on, so I hope
I can't hear him.
There was a lot of echo going on in that conversation, so I hope I captured the question correctly. But Councilmember Tillman, the scope of the work was to put together the comprehensive fee schedule with the cost recovery, and the analysis that you're requesting will require, if council gives a direction, we'll be happy to put that together for you.
I think he's saying it wasn't.
Yeah, he is. Okay. And then in regards to the question that Javier asked as well, he asked if any staff, if any council members had been directly, and this even goes to our city manager as well, if any staff have been contacted by council members outside of a budget and audit committee or any of our council meetings to direct you on how to present what we are seeing today.
Is that a question for me or the city manager?
I can't hear you at all, Nitish.
Is that a question for me, council member, or?
Yes, it's for you, and it's also for the city manager.
In my scope of work, I don't remember having any conversation with, if you're asking for council, don't remember any conversation with council. So I work with staff, put this together, and I work with budget audit committee if they are providing directions in that meeting. So those are all recorded items, but definitely that's the purpose of the committee. So, and we did present this to them as well, and they did ask questions. So I don't remember anything with anyone, but I think that completes my part.
Okay. I don't know if you want to jump in, city manager. Otherwise, I'll just ask oh, go ahead.
Just for time frame for everybody. So my first day on the job was the last budget and audit committee meeting. We discussed this. So although I have the history and I've talked to the interim city manager, I wasn't here when it was created. So it's a little hard for me to provide some of the historical context that everyone's talking about, but I think that answers your question, council member.
Yeah, I think it does. I'm trying to figure out in probe because he only had 90 seconds. So I'm going to just see if this is where Mr. Castaneda, sorry if I botched your name, was going. When staff directed you, Mr. Sharma, and it was coming through the city manager, did they mention that it was at the direction of the mayor that they were making changes to the scope of what you were doing?
I work under the direction of the city manager with the project.
Okay, thanks.
Is there stuff that you guys want to discuss amongst us, or is it more questions that you have for them? I'm curious where we're going.
I was done with my questions. I'm only asking what was just presented to us from the public so that we can get answers and everybody can leave here satisfied and to the extent that they can. Right. In regards to the, this is for the city manager. I think this is what Mrs. Denslow was asking about in regards to the legality of limiting time for who is speaking. I know that we have been in conference, but can you please let the rest of the public know how that came about?
Yeah, so we have, the mayor identified that he felt like it reached the point where he needed to reduce public comment related to time constraints. We had the city attorney review the rules and regulations the council has approved. City attorney felt like that it was within the parameters of those rules and regulations at the mayor's discretion to be able to reduce time.
Okay, thank you. And then in regards to Mr. Kaplan's question, he was asking about facilities, and I think this is probably a question for the city manager and or Mr. Sharma. What are the facilities that we are using downtown? What would be considered facilities that a special event would be using?
Yeah, so specifically, the city attorney has opined that the street, in essence, is a city facility and could be used, and that special event fee, now not the amount of the fee, she didn't opine on, I want to be very clear, but a fee could be charged for use of a city facility, i.e. a street being closed per se, as a special event fee. But to reiterate, she did not opine on the level of fee or comparables or any of the things that are much more in council's discretion.
Okay, and then let's see. I think those were the only additional questions that were asked in public comment that needed to be clarified, other than Mrs. Utley's. Just to answer your question, you had asked if there was a cost to close the street, and the answer to that is there's a street closure fee, but it's not the amount that was presented in this packet. So hopefully that helps. And I will turn it back over to you.
I leave the floor open. I'm looking for a comment or feedback from the council to determine if there's any item that you would make a suggestion on. Otherwise, we will essentially move forward. So if you have anything that you'd like to suggest, or that now is time to do that.
And
I do not have any questions. I do not have any questions from the schedule and the presentation as presented. Do you have any questions?
Oh, no, other than my thought on how we set up the schedule after we've, I guess, run it down, that are we actually recovering the total cost from the city? I would similar to Endeavor Hall, where we have a fee schedule with a discount for a Clayton nonprofit and for a non-Clayton nonprofit. I would like to see something similar to that when we get down to the final analysis of how we move this forward. Okay. And I'm open at this point what that percent ought to be for Clayton nonprofit, non-Clayton nonprofit.
And I just have two quick questions. One is, oh, I thought it was unmuted. Can you hear me?
Yes.
No?
Yes, I can hear you.
Oh, there we go. There we go. Okay. I had two quick questions. One is, I've been asked from the community about the Endeavor Hall fees for nonprofits that are bringing in $10,000 or less a year. And one of the questions I guess I still have is, it says up to 3 days a year. Is that consecutive or not? And I don't know if anyone knows the answer to that question.
I think it was intended to be calendar year.
So it could be 3 Saturdays, but not consecutive.
No, consecutive.
Oh, consecutive.
Yeah, just as long as within the calendar period.
Okay. Yeah. And then my other question is, and we know that based on an email recently by the president of CBCA, that permits have been pulled for Oktoberfest 2023 and Art and Wine 2024 under the existing agreement and the existing fee schedule. And my question is, once we adopt these new fees in August 15th meeting, do the new cost recovery for the staff time, police, public works, administration, will CBCA be under those new staff hourly rates despite still being under their current agreement because they pulled their permits? Another question I've been asked. Does anyone know the answer to that?
Yeah,
You do?
I think the city manager also knows the answer to that
Yeah,
question.
maybe the city manager.
If you made your reservation or your fee.
Let's give the question over to staff, either the manager or whoever you designate. If you could address that question, please.
Yeah, so the fee itself, they would be charged under their master agreement, which actually says that they should be, when I read it further with staff, they actually should be trying to look out 12 months in advance to register these. So that's appreciated because it gives staff enough time to do it. So that would be held to what their current fee is based on their current agreement. Staff time would be actual costs at the time of the event. So those fees, or those fully burdened staff rates, would be the rates at the time that the event's held. So there will be, I guess, a slight fluctuation in the time cost of the staff, separate and distinct though from the fee cost related to any reservation. If that answers your question, council member?
Yes, yes, it does. So it'll be at the new rates. And I guess I want a little bit more clarification on what we're talking about, the special event fee. What does that include? Can we, maybe that's for discussion more than a question. It doesn't sound like it includes the Grove. It sounds like it includes the downtown, the parking, the dirt parking lot, the paved parking lot by the Historical Society. Does it include the Endeavor Hall parking lot? I'd like some clarification around that.
That's my understanding as well. In talking with Nitish during the various meetings, I think that's the common the feedback that we gave. So the special event fee would cover utilization of the downtown. That includes those 3 parcels that you described,
okay,
plus the use of the streets and whatnot. But it would not include the other things that are specifically outlined within the fee schedule.
Not the Grove.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
So can I ask another question then about that? Can you name off what areas that includes again now? Because it's exactly what I was asking for when I kept asking. what is an $8,000 fee covering?
The city owns several parcels. So there's 3 specific parcels. One is the dirt lot that I think we're familiar with.
By the church.
By the church.
Behind the church property.
Mhm.
There's another paved parking lot that is also in that same vicinity. That's a city parcel as well.
By the kinder care?
Yes.
And then because the use of essentially all of downtown crowds out everything on Endeavor, it would also, I would think it would include the Endeavor parking lot, which is for staging. I think currently the that's normal. ADA parking, as well as the Emergency Operations Center operates out of Endeavor Hall during that time. So I think the special event fee would cover all of that, and the use of the streets as well.
Okay, so it's the street closure for the city streets, which are all the same streets that we all recognize that get closed every time. The church lot, the paved lot by kinder care, Endeavor Hall, and it's exclusive of the Grove Park, which means that would be an additional fee that's already paid for when events are done. I'm looking now at staff, if the community development director can chime in, or the city manager. I'm trying to understand which fees are already included in the permits that would be pulled under the current book of fees that we've got, or the proposed ones.
All of those fees that you describe are waived under the current agreement.
Can I clarify?
If any entity, forget about the CBCA right now. Sure. If any entity comes and they want to pull a permit, and it's a special event and there's tiering, I would like to know what fees they are going to be responsible for.
So I'll give it just an example that might help. So if I had an event above 5,000 people under the proposed fees, I'd be charged $10,000 a day. And if I also was using the Grove Park, I would be charged the commensurate Grove Park fees. I'd have to look up exactly what they are. In addition to that, you would get an estimate, as we talked about, but then the actual cost of the time required for the maintenance team and the police for their services related to your event for the number of days that you've had it. And so I think in that example, if you were using Grove and street closure and all of that, you would have inclusive of all of those fees wrapped into the cost of the event per day.
So then can I just double check? You just mentioned maintenance and PD again, even though they're up at the top part. So we're paying twice for maintenance and PD for a special event?
No, I'm saying the fee, the holistic fee the special event fee itself is in essence a charge to be able to host a special event. The cost, in addition to that, if you were to use the Grove Park for that same event, you would then add the Grove Park fee charges to it. And then if you had PD and maintenance, which you would in that big of an event, those would be the staff costs that you'd see. So all of that combined would be your cost per day, I guess, as I want to make a la carte, each one of those would be your cost per day under the proposed fee schedule.
Okay, and what if you don't use the Grove Park? What are we constituting using the Grove Park as?
I'll look to Natish. My assumption is this is some of the policy clarification that Natish may be saying is required as far as the definitions of what is what, but I'll leave it to him on that specifically.
Yeah, no, thank you, City Manager. This is a policy that needs to be developed for special events, clearly defining some of the city facilities, defining what's included, what's not included. But that is something that, as we mentioned to the Budget Audit Committee, that our city manager at that time was relatively new, but that is something that we will be bringing forward to the City Council. Not me, but that somebody will, for the city manager or designee will be bringing forward in front of City Council to seek direction and approve that policy. Just like in Endeavor Hall and a number of these facilities, sometimes they have policies that govern the use, the type of use, and then also the the nonprofit and for Clayton based and non-Clayton. So these will be all part of the policy. So today, I don't think we are in a position to answer any specific question that you may have.
Okay. The only other question that I have then, as I'm looking at whether or not the event is, whether or not the event is up to 500 participants. The fee for a special event is $700 in the proposed fee. And so I just want to understand then, for $700, that event can have the street closures, the church lot, the lot by KinderCare, and the Endeavor Hall lot, right? For $700 for that limited number of people?
Councilmember Tillman, I will again reiterate the policy that's going to be put in front of you to define all those parameters and things.
Yeah, I think that this council we all just had a discussion about it. I was looking at them, sorry, it wasn't at you, sorry.
Oh, sorry.
We had all just talked about it, what that covered. And I just want to reiterate that for $700, like a bargain, for $700, you can get 2 lots plus, actually 3 lots, and the use of the city streets for a bargain for $500. So I again go back to, if it's the same streets and people can't get to downtown for an event, I'm still just trying to understand the magnitude of the additional people. I understand paying more for security, more for PD. And so what I'm getting at then with this body is starting off with 10,000 as the number, if you're still getting the same usage, doesn't make sense to me, which is what I said when we had our marathon meeting and in a subsequent meeting. So I would ask that that number be lowered, or a significant haircut from that. But I think even in doing that, to what Mrs. Hahn said before she left, is it starts to be prohibited from people having events here. If they are not a Clayton-based nonprofit, because that's what this analysis or this scenario was based off of. And so I would hope that this group of council members would choose to lower that amount and then also do a haircut for Clayton nonprofits. And that's something for us to talk about.
Okay, but was she talking about special events?
She was talking about
Yeah,
the parks, but I think it still works, even if her scenario still to me.
You don't have a problem with those rates, right?
I'm not renting the parks anymore, but I think that she's not wrong. I do think what's going to end up happening, and I think this is what Mr. Amos was saying, is you're just going to get people who don't pull permits. This is why I was trying to ask, was analysis done on how many actual rentals happen? That way we can see rentals versus special events and the fees. And I think it will help us next year to know, oh gosh, the fees were this amount that we actually put into place in our budget, or in this new special master fee schedule. Sorry, not special, but the master fee schedule. And we've lost money because people didn't take permits out because we might have increased the amount too much. I'm just trying to help us have an informed decision a year from now to know what that change in difference was.
Okay, we are getting close. So
Yeah.
did you have a comment that you wanted to add? That's all you haven't had a chance yet.
I mean, Go ahead.
I think we just need to get to the
I can't
conversation.
hear you.
I think we need to get to the conversation of what the discount is going to be for nonprofits. I mean, and you know, I could.
Do you have a suggestion?
I'm going off precedent, which is in our fee schedule. I will go right to that, pardon me. But if you go to the Endeavor Hall fee schedule for nonprofits, let me get up there, pardon me. We are giving a 50% discount to Clayton nonprofits versus non-Clayton nonprofits for Endeavor Hall. And we're actually giving an 81% discount for Clayton nonprofits versus commercial use. Now, commercial use would be like a chamber of commerce, which is renting the facility in Walnut Creek. So we're giving an 81% discount for Clayton-based nonprofits.
Are you suggesting 80%?
I'm suggesting that in the range of 50% makes sense.
Okay.
That's my suggestion. We're now bringing it down to a $5,000 a day fee versus $10,000 fee. But you know, quite frankly, this conversation really needs to be had between CBCA and the city as well. I mean, this is the dialogue that should be had. I mean, that they should be in the room to have the conversation with the board of CBCA.
But aside from them, we have to think about other entities that
Yes.
might be getting, putting on a special event. And I'll just throw it out there, even just thinking about Pride or some other group, the Rotary who wants to put on something, et cetera. We need to be thinking about all of them holistically, not just the CBCA. Because it could be, like my whole point, cost prohibitive for somebody to put on an event that's going to be closing down streets, et cetera. And I already know that Little League is thinking about doing a run. They've already asked me about this. This is before Rotary, and I knew they were doing one. And so my concern is that we're going to start to make it difficult for people to put events on in town when we should be promoting people being outdoors and coming into downtown, et cetera.
And I think that that's kind of the point that I think all of us are missing is the marketing aspect that CBCA provides as a nonprofit entity for free to Clayton has value. And none of us have actually talked about what the value CBCA brings. There have been so many people who come here for our festivals because they're really well publicized by CBCA. And they come back later on for date night at Moressi's or the Veranda because we got such a cute town. There's a marketing aspect that we get from that exposure. Not only that, I can't tell you how many residents I've met who have actually come here for one of our festivals and said, I need to buy a house here. So it's I don't want to discourage that free marketing we get from CBCA of our town. I mean, we're not giving a value to that. We're actually taking, with this fee, money out of their coffers that they would be giving towards scholarships and schools and everything else. It just doesn't seem right because we're getting full cost recovery per Councilmember Diaz's last comment from all these fees. Matter of fact, it's 85% more cost than last year to next year.
Okay, but let's also remember the fact that for 15 years, and I know you want to make this a CBCA meeting, and I think it should be a broader master fee discussion. But for 15 years, there has been a contract in place. There's been no permitting fees paid, right? They've been waived for 15 years. And this is an organization of which I'm also a member that is doing extremely well. We're not asking them for more than covering the cost that the city is bearing, right? So.
And I think there's an agreement. They should cover all costs. They should cover all costs. I don't think there's a difficulty with that. Is there anybody saying they shouldn't? We are adjusting the fee schedule and they will cover all costs of the city as whole. The question now at hand is whether we take additional monies from them or any other person who wants to do a special event and how much that should be. That's the question.
So let's get down to the fees.
Yeah, so I'm like I said, I'm comfortable with as it's presented. I do think that there's something that we can modify here to include all nonprofits rather than just Clayton-based nonprofits. I recognize there's a lot of events that happen organized by nonprofits that are somewhat local, but not based in Clayton. Pride is the first one that comes to mind. And so I would extend the same schedule to all nonprofits.
Mayor Juan, I think you're muted. Mayor Juan, I cannot hear you.
So I just want to make one comment though. So I know you just said all nonprofits. Could we at least limit it to nonprofits whose jurisdiction is Clayton? You know, like Rotary, you use as an example, Councilmember Tillman. I know they're the Concord, Clayton, Sunrise,
I think
Rotary.
it's easier for staff when they have clear lines rather than kind of like have to evaluate, does this cover your area? If we do that, then I think it makes it very easy for staff to administer. So that's why I'm thinking about that. Plus, I don't think that the population of folks that are essentially okay. So I think plus the population of organizations that would want to do an event in town but are not necessarily have us within their within their
jurisdiction.
I think that's
minute.
like almost non-existent, but and it makes it easier for staff.
But let me remind you, you're trying to make it easy for staff. They already know what they're doing over there at Endeavor Hall. They have a fee for the Clayton nonprofit, and they have a fee for a non-Clayton nonprofit. I would like to see that same type of a situation for these.
Okay.
Or
think about it. I don't know what the numbers ought to be, but I think we ought to give the edge to our own Clayton nonprofits.
Okay. What would you say about like a split? The current is showing a 20%, so we can go like a 30% for Clayton base and a 20% for non-Clayton base, and the math works out.
I don't have a problem with 25 and 10, but make it simple. That's all.
It's rather arbitrary, so we can set the number whatever we want.
Whatever we agree on.
I'm open.
I like 50 then if we're open.
I'm not open. Yeah, I think that's 60.
Okay.
I'm comfortable if we go as far as 30.
Why is it too steep?
I think that's a definite call.
No, I mean, it's a serious question. We look at this last budget from the last meeting, last Tuesday.
We were $113,000 in the red. We had $36,000 of fee we added, and we had an MOU for another $150,000. That's about $300,000 in the red. And then we're talking about $25,000 or $30,000. I mean, we're just talking about additional fees. It doesn't make sense. I mean, it's nonsense compared to the bigger issues we have as a city. I don't know why we're doing.
Well, we can always talk about the bigger issues, but every issue stands on its own. So I don't think it's helpful to bring in everything all the time with all discussions. But here, what's germane and what is on the table now is these particular fees. So if you have a comment on that, so you suggest 50, you suggest 50. I'm not comfortable with 50. You're not comfortable with 50.
I think 30
So
and
I think 30 is a fair number.
I say 25-10. That's my opinion.
Okay.
Not 50. 25-10. And then you convince me why you want to raise it to 30 to what were the other ones? 20%? Anyway, edge Clayton nonprofit.
for sure.
Okay.
What if we compromise then? If you guys are comfortable with 30 and then the two of us would like 50, then what about 40?
Well, I think the starting point was 20.
The starting point was 20, which is why I asked the question of Nitish, why did he put 20 on there to begin with?
Because we suggested that they come up with a discount rate.
So you came up with a discount rate based off of what I tried to ask him. I understand. I tried to ask him that question and he said it's up for discussion. It was a starting point. It wasn't based on necessarily any calculation that I can see in this packet. It was a starting point for you guys to discuss and come up with policy and direction for him. So if that is the case, we shouldn't be necessarily wedded to 20% other than it feels comfortable for people, I guess. And so then I'm saying then, if you're willing to go to 30 and we would like 50 as a compromise for this community and finally to start coming together, could we not compromise and do 40?
I don't favor 40. The top I would give is 30, and I really would only prefer 25% for a Clayton nonprofit. And for a non-Clayton nonprofit, 15% would be my maximum.
I'm comfortable with 30 and whatever else we come up with for nonprofit. Oh, was I muted still?
I don't even know. I would go, okay, that's fine. So given that we are going to run out of a quorum in a minute, I would say we give staff direction to go with 30 and 15 then. Is that hits your maximum?
I'll buy that.
I'm okay with that.
30 and 15.
What is the current nonprofit rate now?
We don't have a nonprofit.
It's just
flat?
flat?
I didn't understand your question.
There's no haircut for Clayton, for non-Clayton nonprofits?
Correct.
So the fee doesn't exist.
That's what takes place over at Endeavor Hall.
Yeah, for Endeavor as
it's 80% for Endeavor Hall.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's 80 for Endeavor Hall.
But I do think Endeavor is a different of a different character.
Yeah, I'm going back to special events now, not necessarily the hall, on what we're trying to do about downtown area. And I'm trying to understand the math that you guys are proposing right now.
yeah, I think on the table is 30 and 15, and literally it's going to end. So that's what I would suggest that we give staff direction on. So I think, Brett, what do you need from us?
I mean, I think it would help if we get a clear vote on whatever numbers put out there, just so we know. That would be.
Sure. Then I make a motion that we move forward with the schedule as described, with the modification that Clayton-based nonprofits for special events are at a 30% discount, and non-Clayton-based nonprofits would receive a 15% discount. That's the motion.
I'll second it.
All right, you need I don't know, Janet, if you want to run a vote?
Sure. Councilmember Trupiano?
Yes.
Councilmember Tillman?
I think you called my name and I'm going to be a no because I would prefer that it's 40.
Councilmember Cloven?
No.
Vice Mayor Diaz?
Yes.
Mayor Juan?
Aye. Okay, and with that, you have direction to go. And I think that concludes item 2A, and the next is adjournment. We are adjourned at 6:36. Thank you. Our next regularly scheduled meeting is Tuesday, July 18th, and Vice Mayor Diaz will be proctoring that meeting.